You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to The Spectral Zone with host CHATROOM.
Good evening everyone and welcome to the Spectral Zone on Parasearch Radio. I'm Kaz Rooney and tonight I've got a treat for you because I'm being joined by a lovely lady all the way in California. And that is Rhonda Grimes Vegas. Hello Rhonda.
Hi Kaz, how are you?
I am great, how are you?
I'm doing good this evening. It's been a nice day today.
You have all the sunshine, don't you?
We do. We have a little bit of a weather system coming into California, so it might be raining tomorrow. But I'd say today it was probably in the low 80s.
Wow. It's so cold over here, you wouldn't believe it. You would not believe it.
Is it?
Oh yeah, very cold. Right, how long have you actually been working in the paranormal field, Rhonda?
I actually have only been in the paranormal field, I would say, for about a little over 2 years now.
And how do you find it? Are you enjoying it?
There's some aspects I truly enjoy, and then there's some aspects that I don't enjoy. But for the most part, I love it. I love anything paranormal. As far as UFOs, Bigfoot, haunted objects, I kind of like it all.
Wow. So what actually got you started with the paranormal? Was it something you experienced or something you had a belief in?
Well, for the most part, I've always, even as a child, kind of been, I guess fascinated with death, as far as what happens when you leave your vessel and you go to the other side. And that all started when my grandmother passed away in 1976.
Wow.
Yeah. And so once she passed away, I've always felt things, but I've never really seen things. And I always felt because my uncle lived in her home after both of them had passed. Okay. And when I would be there babysitting for my uncle, it's hard to explain. It just felt like certain times during the evening when I was there, it was just like grandma was coming down the hall, or, it was just that sense of that she was still there. Mm-hmm. And at that young age, because back then I was only, I want to say 12 years old.
Wow.
And being raised Catholic, you're kind of trained to, once you leave this world, you go to heaven.
Yeah.
Not so much that your soul can, or your energy can come back and forth. Mm-hmm. Or be stuck. And I don't think she was ever stuck. But that's what kind of got me into wondering what is on the other side. And then for years, so then, I went through high school and I didn't really explore that any further, but I've always had this sense of like when I'm at places, I can sense certain things. I don't, like I said, see things, but I can sense things. And a lot of times you just think that's a coincidence or like a deja vu moment.
Yeah.
But then as I got older, if I thought something, like if I thought of somebody's name, then the phone would ring.
Really?
Yes, they would call, or you would like someone you hadn't thought of in years, and you'd think of them, and then they would appear within the week, or just really weird things like that.
That's true though, Rhonda. When it happens like that, you kind of think, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, was that a coincidence, or do I have some kind of ability? And the other thing that always fascinated me as a teenager too was telepathy.
Yeah.
So then once I got out of high school, shortly after that, I got married and I had a child.
Yeah.
And so for probably the next, I'd say 15 years, I was raising a kid, and so my interests went elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then I've never really had a lot of cable TV in my life either. So once I did get cable TV, I was truly blown away that there were shows on the paranormal, like Most Haunted.
Yeah.
I've always been drawn to England, even as a kid. Anytime I had to do a report on another country or anything, it was always on England.
Really?
Yes, and that's just so I would love to come to the UK. So anyway, so Most Haunted was the first show that I really saw on TV. And I didn't realize that you could truly go out and do these things as a hobby.
Really?
Explore. Yeah. I was kind of like a newbie as far as all that went, because I didn't have internet for the longest time. I'm not really big into the tech world.
Yeah.
So I didn't have internet for the longest time, and I didn't have cable TV. I just had regular channels. So having cable TV really opened my eyes. So after Most Haunted, I really got into the TAPS program.
Yeah.
And I really like the way that they investigate. I like the history. I really like to delve into the history of the location, because that helps a lot with your EVP questions.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point.
Yeah. And then when I saw in Most Haunted the table tipping, that really fascinated me.
I was recently at an investigation with some friends of mine who run a group they call Free Spirit Researchers, but there was a table tipping going on, and we were at a fort. And this table, Rhonda, was taken off. It was just taking off. It was literally lifting off the ground. It was just going on its own. Literally to the point where the investigators were trying to hold on to the table.
How amazing.
And, I mean, I've seen table tipping and the table will move slightly. I haven't seen it take off the way it took off that night.
Whoa.
And I thought, wow, didn't expect that.
Yeah. So that's something that I've always wanted to do at a location that we've gone to.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it is here in the States, but when you bring up a Ouija board or table tipping, people back away.
Okay.
And I don't understand why here in the States it seems to be taboo.
Well, here's a question for you, Rhonda. Did you find, being raised Catholic, I was also raised Catholic, did you find that the perception is from the Catholic point of view is Ouija boards are bad and you shouldn't be touching them, and they're almost a portal to you don't know what you're going to get.
Yes.
It's that thing that's drummed into you, isn't it?
Yes.
Maybe that's why.
You know, or like just talking to like people at my work, they're interested in what I do. And if I mention the Ouija board, they're just like, oh, I would never own one of those. And I'm like, why? You know, everyone wants to go to the demonic. And I feel that the demonic is a fraction of the hauntings that we deal with.
This is the thing. I mean, from the UK side of things, the demonic side of things seems to be more concentrated over in the USA and other countries. It seems to be a bigger thing over that end of the pond than it is over here. And I don't know if that's down to beliefs or cultures or what it is, but it seems to be a bigger thing over there.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with that. There's a few people I've met that are interested in it. And they actually did it at a hotel in the next county over from me. Okay. And like you said, like your experience, they had an amazing experience. Do you know Elizabeth Saint?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So she happened to be in our neck of the woods, and she went over to the Hotel Leger. And there was some friends of mine that were investigating, and they did a table tipping session, and and from what I understand, they did get the table to go all three legs came up and was just on one leg.
Wow.
And I just wish I could have that experience. I wish I could find a group of people that weren't scared, that would be willing to try that with me.
So you haven't actually got anyone who will go, well, let's try this. They're all a little bit nervous of it.
Yes, very nervous of it.
I would have tried it. I mean, I was joining in that night a couple of weeks ago. I was joining in with the table tipping where I could, but it was kind of difficult because the table, it didn't matter where we moved to, this table just kept taking off. It was bizarre experience.
So when you say that, so I've done a little bit of research, and when you say that, what is your feelings on, so like Michael Faraday, he believes that it's our energy that is making the table move.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's psychology as well.
Yes.
It's the subconscious. Are we subconsciously moving the table? If it's a Ouija board, are we subconsciously moving the planchette? You have to take all that into account. But the way, I do have to say, the way that table was going the other week, the investigators were really struggling to hold on to the table. So I can't say they were moving it.
Exactly.
I will actually send you that video. I do have the video.
That would be lovely.
And I will send you that. But do you find that you look at those type of situations and wonder if it's being manipulated maybe a little bit?
Yes. And the same goes for the Ouija board. You know, like there are some shows on TV, and I just, I like to watch them because of the locations they're at, but I don't necessarily believe that all of that is going on while they're there. And I think the Ouija board is the same way. If you're not physically doing it, and you could physically say, I'm not moving this, there's really no way for those that are viewing in to know, if that is true or not.
That is true. That is true. But interestingly, this might actually interest you. I maybe shouldn't be doing this, but I will. A friend of mine, Kelly J. Ellis, has actually made, designed and built a hands-free Ouija board.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which we also used that night, and I have the video for that too, so I'll send you that too. But she was thinking along the same lines as you there, that it could be manipulated by ourselves, not intentionally, but subconsciously we could be moving the planchette or whatever. So she made
Yes.
this different one.
How interesting.
It is actually. It's different. It is different.
Yeah, I'm curious because now I want to know how do you do that?
It's a compass, believe it or not.
Oh, I was at the Biltmore. I was at a Paracon last month, and there was a gentleman there, and he had a device, and actually this device, and it had a compass on it.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was doing was he was finding vortexes.
Oh, wow.
So I believe it had two different compasses on there,
Mm-hmm.
and one compass would spin one way, and the other compass would spin the other way.
Wow.
And that's how he kind of would hone in on these certain areas.
Wow.
And he actually found one in our hotel room.
I bet that just thrilled you to bits, Rhonda.
Well, yeah, because there was me and Michelle LeBaron and Lisa Ludwig and her husband staying in the room. So instead of doing the investigation with everyone that night, we decided just to investigate our room.
Well, I would
And
have
it was
too.
very interesting.
I would have too.
Yes. Yes, I mean, yeah, it was a very interesting evening. Some things were caught on video camera. We got some amazing EVPs.
Wow.
Really sad. A woman just crying out for help and that she was cold, and we believe her name was Mary, and she might have, we don't know the actual story, but one of the stories is she died on one of the roads there around Tahoe, and that she was pregnant.
Oh, that's sad.
It was very sad. And after all that happened, that's kind of what everyone was like, okay, that's enough. We all need to recover from that one.
Well, the investigations you've been on, I mean, I'm sure you've been on quite a few. I know you've been on quite a few.
Yeah.
What has been your most memorable, do you think? What's been the one that really sticks in your mind? You think that was a fantastic night?
Oh, that's a hard one. It's either on the Queen Mary in San Diego, or I should say Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Or it would have been in Eureka, Nevada, in the tunnels underneath the cafe there.
Wow.
Yeah. So on the Queen Mary,
yeah,
we were down below where the guys would sleep in these like hammocks. So what else was down there? I think that was the next floor down, was the POWs were held down there.
Wow.
But anyway, so we were in this section of the ship. This is where the public doesn't get to go. And
okay.
And there were quite a few people there. So I always like to kind of go find the area where there's not so many people, or like I said, I get these feelings or where I'm drawn to. And so I kind of walked away from everybody, and I was going down this section of the ship. Well, in the middle of the ship was kind of like a rounded wall, so it kind of bowed out in the middle.
Okay.
And at that time, I didn't realize that you could walk on the other side.
Wow.
So I had started walking down, and then all of a sudden I found this dark, and it was really dark. It was a little corridor, and it had a wooden door at the very end. And I had, you couldn't really make out what the door was because it was super dark in there. Anyway, so I had my K2 meter, and I got to this little hallway.
Yeah.
And as soon as I put one foot into that hallway, my K2 meter started going off.
Wow.
And I just got this overly intense vibe, like, don't step another foot in here. So I kind of backed up.
Yeah.
And at first you think, okay, I'm new to this. I'm, kind of scaring myself. But I had to test it. So I went to step back into that little hall,
Yeah.
And my K2 meter started going off again, and I got that vibe like, don't you take another step towards me.
Wow.
And so I backed up, and I thought, okay, you're being silly, you know. So I thought, okay, you're gonna try and go as far as you can down this hallway. I could only get about halfway down, and it was just the feeling was so overwhelming, like I was in danger, that I had to get out of there.
Really?
And yeah, so I just kind of freaked out as I came out of this place, and everyone was kind of like, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know what is in this hallway, but because my K2 meter was constantly, hitting.
Yeah.
But then somebody else went into that hallway, and then they didn't have that experience. So, but it was very overwhelming for me, that feeling of dread.
Yeah.
It felt like a male, like I was in a place where I shouldn't be.
So you're
And it
quite
was very
sensitive.
uncomfortable. I think so. I think a little bit, but I need to really work on it.
Do you rely on your gut instincts when you're investigating, Rhonda?
Yes. Yes, I do.
So, I mean, I've been in the situation like you described. You got that feeling you weren't to go any further. Only twice in my lifetime have I actually had an experience where literally it was almost like a glass wall was put between me and where I was going, and I wasn't allowed to go any further, so I just had to leave.
Oh.
And literally it's like a glass wall was just slammed in front of me.
Yes.
And I couldn't move.
Oh, you couldn't move.
I literally couldn't
So
take
it was
a
like
step
paralyzing.
forward. Yeah. And I was like, well, why am I not? And I just couldn't go any further, and I had to turn back and walk out. So I can
Whoa.
understand that feeling. So
Yeah.
watch out for that one. Watch out for
Yes.
that happening.
And then in the tunnels at the Eureka Cafe in Eureka, Nevada, we were down in the tunnels, and we were in the section that we were in. The street was right above our heads, but it was like this big cathedral. It looked like a huge well opening above our heads, but it didn't go all the way. You couldn't, there was no door to get up to the street. So I'm not really sure what that whole weird situation was.
Okay.
And then the bricks kind of rounded where the wall was kind of had a round feeling to it, and it had a little bit of a step up, kind of like a little bit of a stage area.
Okay.
And so we were, there was, I would say, maybe about 8 or 9 of us, and we were all in a circle, and we were all just talking and introducing ourselves. Well, now, mind you, I was in that same place the night before, and I didn't feel anything down there. So we're all in a circle, and we're doing EVPs. We're asking questions, and then all of a sudden, the whole backside of me, from my head all the way to my toes, I got really chilled and just goosebumped up. And that's never really happened to me.
Wow.
And so as we were doing it, I'm like, there's something's not right. Then another girl, she started not feeling well. And we did get an amazing EVP in there because there was a brothel upstairs, of course. And one of the girls asked, did you used to bring the women down here? And the EVP came back, it's too cold.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was very interesting.
Wow. Do you have a favorite piece of equipment when you go investigating?
I like to rely on my body, my senses. And then my next piece of equipment, I guess, I go to the most would probably be my K2 meter.
Okay. Mine is my EVP recorder. I absolutely love my EVP recorder.
See, I don't seem to have a whole lot of luck. And I don't know if it's because I'm just not asking the right questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had luck with it. But, I mean, some people are they can just get a lot of EVPs.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's just something I need to work on a little more.
But don't you find though? I mean, you go into locations, it's all hit and miss. You could go in
Yeah,
there one night, there's nothing. You could go in the next night, and there's everything.
this is so true.
So you
I
can't
agree.
pinpoint it. Really, you
Yeah,
can't
they do not
play
act
ball.
on command.
They don't always play ball.
Exactly. Yes.
So what is it like over in California for going to locations? Do you have a lot of locations around you locally you can go to?
Um, as far as like pioneer cemeteries, yes. A lot of the buildings, though, because I do live in the gold rush part of
Okay.
California,
Wow.
a lot of the buildings are privately owned.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these people are just now starting to let people into these buildings,
Okay.
but it's really hard, you know. And I don't know if it's because they don't want to be associated with hauntings,
Okay.
you know, like they don't want their building to be known as
Yeah.
haunted. And to me, that's not a bad thing.
I suppose if it's a business, if the building is still used as some sort of business or something like that, then you can understand why they're kind of reluctant to say it's haunted.
True. But I have gotten into quite a few little places. I got to do in Sutter Creek, California.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do a mercantile store.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. So a lot of these things I have to do by myself because
Yeah.
I can't find anyone in my area that isn't scared by it. I mean, they're all fascinated by what I do, but none of them will ever go out with me.
You need to try and
and then
set up a little team.
I've
That
tried, and I just can't find anyone here.
Well, that's going to be now the mission for Parasearch Radio. We need to find other investigators in
Yes,
Rhonda's
yeah.
area to set up a team.
You know, because then my friends will go, my friends that don't live, you know, that I investigate with, but they're
Yes.
like in Nevada or all over California. They're like, you can't be doing this by yourself. And I go, but if I don't do it by myself, then I'm not going to be able to do anything. Because I can get my son to go with me every now and again. He's interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that,
Does he find
can't
it
find-
strange sometimes?
does Josh find it strange?
Yes.
No, I think he likes it a whole lot more than he lets on.
Do you think he's had experiences that he hasn't told you about?
Oh, I know he's had experiences. I don't know if he's had more than what he's told me, but he had an experience in my parents' house in the Bay Area when he was little. I had moved back home for a short period of time, and he said he was laying on his bed waiting to go to school that morning. So my parents had a dog named Fluffy, and it was an Australian Shepherd. So he told me that he was laying on his bed watching cartoons, waiting to go to school.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he saw a dog go by his door. And my parents after Fluffy died, they never got another dog.
Wow.
So he's seen the family dog.
Yeah.
Which I'm so jealous of, that he got that experience and none of us did. So, and then another weird story as far as the dog goes, not so much with Josh, but so me and my sister lives over by the Napa area, California. And when our family dog had gotten sick, it ended up getting buried in a pet cemetery in Napa, California.
Okay.
So a couple of weekends ago, me and my sister, she said, let's just go drive some roads. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So we're driving down this random road in Napa, and I'm looking out the window, and all of a sudden I start seeing headstones. And I'm like, whoa, what is it? You know, why would there be a cemetery way out here? You know, and, there's not where a cemetery should be.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, you want to stop? And I go, well, we can if you want, So we decide to pull in. And when we go through the gates, now, mind you, that was part of Napa that burned a couple of years ago. A lot of homes were lost in this area.
Oh, dear.
So we pull into the gate, and there's a dog and a cat on the gate. And I go, I don't think this is a human cemetery.
Oh.
It must be a pet cemetery. So we got out and we started looking around. And then all of a sudden my sister went, oh my God, do you think this is Bubbling Wells? And I'm like, Bubbling Wells? What is Bubbling Wells? And she goes, that's the pet cemetery our family dog is buried in Napa.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? So as we're walking around, we find this big altar, a little memorial. It's a big memorial. It has these 2 stone columns. And we go up to look at it, and I'm starting to look. But because the fire had ran through there, a lot of the markers you couldn't read anymore.
Okay.
So she opened up. So all of a sudden I noticed her opening up this like box thing. And it had registration cards in it. But it was only the registration cards for the pets that had been buried for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So we're like, God, I wonder where the rest of the records are, because you could tell the office had burnt down and everything.
Oh.
So I'm reading the thing, and we're trying to figure out, where the rest of the cards are.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, let's look on the back side of this monument. So sure enough, we walked around to the back side, and there was a door on one of these stone pillar things.
Okay.
And we opened it up. And at first I thought, oh, these are little coffins for animals to be buried in. But then we noticed it had like 88 on one of them, and then 89 and 87. And so she's like, no, I think these are the older cards.
Mm-hmm.
So we started going through them, and sure enough, those were the years for the pets that were buried that year. So we're like, oh, Fluffy, let's see if we can find Fluffy, And so we were down to like the last, because we were trying to think back, like what year did she pass?
Yeah.
And obviously we had it way wrong. So we're down to 4 little boxes left to go through. And I'm like, I don't think she died those years, And I looked at my sister. I said, do you really want to continue to look through them? Because at that point, I was kind of giving up. And I'm usually the one that never gives up. And she kind of had that look on her face. Oh, and the day before was the day of my mother's passing.
Wow.
So my sister said, God, do you think Mom's here with Fluffy? And so we get down to the last 4 containers. And I go, and she kind of gave me that look, and I go, if you want to continue to go through them, we'll go through them. Mm-hmm. And she goes, yeah, I want to go through them. So I handed her the next one. She went through it. The dog wasn't in that one. Then I handed her the third one, because there was 4 in there. And she just about fell over. We found our family dog's registration card.
Wow.
Just a random drive in the middle of Napa, and we weren't able, it didn't actually have the plot number on the card, so we couldn't physically find her. But it was like, what are the odds?
It's still kind of strange how you just stumbled across it, though.
Yeah, she wants to show me this, she wants to take me up this road that the fire had gone through, and she wanted to see how it had changed. Yeah, she didn't even notice that pet cemetery the first time she had ever gone down that road.
Wow, that's really strange, isn't it?
Very bizarre. So we're in the pet cemetery, and I'm trying to call my dad, We're like, we're trying to find out what year, and oh my God, can you believe we're here? And of course he wasn't home at the time.
Okay.
But then we talked to him later that afternoon, and he was just dumbfounded that we just stumbled across it.
That's strange. It's as if you've almost been led there.
That's kind of what a lot of people said, yeah.
By your mum.
Aww.
Really? Do you think?
Because
it is kind of strange. It's you and your sister just deciding to go for a drive, and you've just been led straight to where your family pet is buried.
Exactly. And we'd
Wow.
never physically been there, when we were all out of the house when she had died. So mom and dad
Uh-huh.
took care of all that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we didn't even know where that cemetery existed.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That is really
Yeah.
so cool.
Have you had any pet experiences?
Pet wise, I'm kind of known for having dream visits. That seems to be my speciality. Um,
Oh.
I've been having dream visits since I was about 20 years old. But we did have a dog called Bonnie, who
Mm-hmm.
was a King Charles Cavalier.
Oh.
And she was absolutely beautiful. I adored that dog. But when she passed away, it was a few months later, I had a dream that I was taking my children to nursery school. And where the nursery school was, you had to go up a lot of steps. But next to it was a great big field.
Mm-hmm.
And in the dream, I took the children up, we went into the school, I came walking back out. As I've looked in the field, Bonnie was just running about the field. Perfectly healthy, just bouncing around the field, barking at me. And then when I shouted on her, she disappeared.
Oh.
It was quite
Did you?
sweet.
I bet. Was it one of those feelings where you wanted to have that dream over again and see her again?
Yeah, I did. I really did.
Yes.
But I felt like that was her way of just letting me know she was fine, and that was it. I wasn't going to have that dream again. But I was
Yeah.
grateful
Yeah,
for that
she
experience.
was healthy and happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So, what has been your scariest experience, Rhonda, investigating?
I think so far, my scariest experience was that little corridor on the Queen
Yeah.
Mary.
Do you
I've only gone to a handful of places. Because here in California, that's the other thing,
Yeah.
is they charge a lot to go to these events. They
Do
charge oh my God, anywhere from $150 up to $249, and some are even higher than that.
Wow.
And that's the other thing I just really don't get. It's
Okay.
I've watched a lot of the UK,
Yeah.
or, I get a lot of not advertisements, but things that are going on in the UK that
Yeah.
people are welcome to come to.
Yeah.
And it's like 40 pounds. And I'm like, why? I don't, you guys have all the history and all the amazing locations, and it's not, it's something that you can afford. Here in the States, it's astronomical. And then on top of that, you have to get your hotel room, if
Yeah.
you're flying into the location, a rental car. So for me being just a single woman,
Yeah.
it's really hard to afford a lot of that.
What I actually do is, the investigations that I will be doing, when I book a location, I invite other investigators to join me, and we split the cost of that location between us all. So that's how we afford it, to do it that way.
Oh, okay.
We split up the cost so that we're all paying exactly the same price. But then we're all getting into a location we want to get into, so...
Yes, I've just met some really amazing women from Nevada.
Yeah.
And that's what they do, like the Goldfield Hotel.
Okay.
It's like $500 to rent it for the night, but they just get a small group of people and they all share the cost.
Is that all that is? $500 for a night?
Yep.
You've heard of the
Yeah.
Black Monk House, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am. Oh my, that's like on my ultimate bucket list.
Well, that'll cost you... At a weekend, it'll cost you £400 for the night.
And what does that translate into?
Oh, in dollars, I'm not sure. Hang on, I'm
I'll-
going to check that.
Yeah,
But
I'm going to check it later too.
But it's...
So have you been
literally-
there?
Yes. I'm going back there in February. That works out at $519.
That's for the whole weekend.
No, that's just one night.
Oh, one night.
One night. So it can be expensive over here too.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I think wow.
And do you
really
think
surprised.
that's because that house has been on TV so much that they know they can get that money?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And as long as they're putting the money back to keeping the house, in somewhat working conditions, I'm all for that.
Well, what you find is there's a lot of teams here who do like places like that fort I went to. It's called Fort Redoubt, and it's in Essex.
Okay.
In England, and that works out about. That is so cheap. It's like £175 for the night.
That's amazing.
So cheap, and it is so huge. It
is
absolutely massive. But the money that they get from that goes back into restoring everything and restoring all the artifacts and everything else that's in there. So that's important, I think.
It's very important. I believe that we need to preserve our history and these buildings, because that's the other thing, around here in California, everything can be plowed down to put up new ugly homes.
Really?
So, oh yeah, the land is more to them than the structure.
That's a shame, really, because you've got some beautiful places over there.
Yeah.
You don't want them destroyed.
Exactly. But then, you have your more famous locations like Waverly Hills and, places like that do the same thing. They take that money and they restore, they keep the buildings going and, the upkeep and I think that's a wonderful thing.
So if you could come over here to the UK, where do you think would be the one location you would need to go?
Oh my, there's so many. I think if I could only do one place, well, first I would do my research.
Okay.
And I would probably reach out to somebody like you.
Do you know who'd be fantastic for that, actually, for research in the UK? Well, for research anywhere about history.
Yeah.
Penny, who presents the Haunted History shows on a Wednesday. She does amazing. Yeah? She's fantastic with history. She knows everything.
Cool. So yeah, definitely do my research, but like you said, the Black Monk House, that's like one of my ultimate bucket list places to go. When you guys investigate, do you set up cameras and the whole 9 yards?
Yes. Yeah.
And have you caught anything on your recordings? Like, what was that one? Nick Roth's show, what is it? Something Lockdown.
Paranormal Lockdown UK.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, when they caught that apparition in that door, there's a door that goes. Have you ever had any experiences like that?
I had experiences like that. Trying to catch them on camera is a whole other issue.
Yeah. Did that clock ever move on you guys? Isn't there a clock there on the landing of the stairs?
There is a clock there, but in the living room, there's like a little carriage clock. In the living room area, and it's in a little glass dome, but it would run on batteries. And I was in there for 3 days last year. And I don't know how many times I took this clock apart to show people there was no batteries in it. But the little balls at the bottom of the carriage clock would keep spinning round, just randomly spinning round.
Whoa.
Interesting thing with the Black Monk House is the equipment fails quite easily in there.
It does. And do you think that... how do I want to word this? What do you think of the energy in that house? Do you see it as like some grumpy old person in there that's just not liking things? Or do you think it's a little more than that?
I'm not really sure. The energy changes very quickly. It feels like a normal home and it feels like a normal house, and then it just changes. And it feels quite oppressive.
Do you think that there's some kind of portal in that home, and that's why the energy changes and shifts so much?
I think there's a couple of spirits in the home, but I don't think there's a portal.
Okay.
But there is definitely a couple of spirits in that home. But it's like us, we're all fascinated with the USA. And you have these amazing locations, and you think we have the same over here.
Exactly. Yes. Because your history is so much older than ours, you know. Compared to you, we're a fairly new country.
I believe, who was it I was speaking? We were all talking one evening to a couple of investigators from the US one night, and it wasn't even a show, we were just chatting. But they were saying, you have so many castles over there, we don't have that.
This is true.
You have castles, we don't have castles.
And you know, the energy within those castles, I mean, you have your oubliettes and, you know, all your, you know, we just don't seem to have that here.
Yeah, but you have some amazing locations over there, Rhonda. We would happily swap with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you should come. We should do that. I should plan on coming there, and you should plan on coming here.
You're welcome here anytime.
Cool. And I would love to show you around.
Do you know, I think every presenter on Parasearch has got a dream that they're going to get to the US eventually.
Yeah.
We keep saying it, we haven't quite done it yet, but we keep saying it. So, hopefully.
Yeah. So have you done any investigations in, like, Scotland?
Scotland only when I'm at home. Because I come from up there when I go up home, and I tend to go up 2 or 3 times a year. But like yourself, it's finding people who want to go because they all get a bit scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's very cold in Scotland. I wouldn't recommend it in winter at all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's really bad in winter. Don't do that.
Okay.
You're likely to get snowed in. So what have you got coming up, Rhonda, in the future? Have you got any investigations planned?
Yeah, actually, at the end of this month, I'm going to Gold Hill, which is in Virginia City, Nevada.
Wow.
And so actually, I won this ticket. I was at Preston Castle's Paracon here in my county.
Okay.
And I won a ticket to this event. I've never I've investigated Eureka, Nevada, with my friends, but I've never been to Virginia City.
Okay.
And that's like where you're going to find, you know, the Goldfield Hotel and other places like that. So my friends are super excited to show me around. Gold Hill was a mine, I believe. It's in the Comstock.
Okay.
So I've never investigated there, and I'm really excited to see what it has to offer.
What experiments do you think you will definitely do while you're there?
Well, I'm not really sure. And as far as experiments, that's the other thing that's kind of really hard here in the States. People just are afraid to do things like that.
Okay.
I think they might be doing a seance that night, though, so I'm excited to get into that.
Have you tried one before?
No, because I can't get anyone to do anything like that. And it's just not, it's kind of hard to find that here. But no, that's something I really want to do.
Wow.
I want to just experience it all.
You want to give everything a little try.
Yeah, because what can it hurt, you know?
That is very true. Do you think there's anything anywhere you wouldn't go and investigate?
Anywhere. Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. That one kind of scares me. Just because of the energy that used to be in that building. Or buildings.
Yeah.
But I would definitely do it. But that probably, as far as in the States, to me, I think that would be the scariest.
Wow. I've always wanted to come to the States and look for the Bell Witch.
Oh, okay.
I would like to do that.
And go into the caves and all that? That would
yeah.
be interesting.
Yeah, but no my luck, I get stuck in a cave. Not ideal.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is interesting that you see a lot in the UK is objects being thrown, like pebbles.
That's true.
And I've always wanted to do that as well. You know, I guess being a new investigator, you know, how do I want to word this? There's things that I want to try, but I'm not sure that it's politically correct in the situation that I'm in.
Okay.
And so instead of making waves or upsetting people, I just don't do things.
I think you need to try.
I do too.
At the end of the day, if you're not hurting anyone, look at it from that point of view. If you're not hurting anyone, then what does it hurt to try?
Yes, like, you know, like just say, okay, I'm going to throw this pebble down the hall. Can you throw it back to me? Yeah. To me, I don't see that as, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to be disrespectful or, do you know what I'm trying? There's a word and I just can't get it to come to me.
I tend to find that over here, we tend to use lots of different things as trigger objects, whether it be pebbles or marbles or pennies or dolls or all sorts get used as trigger objects, and they're usually the things that get thrown.
Oh, interesting. See, and I'll bring trigger objects with me, but then I'm afraid, and I don't know, I'm just not a big person that likes confrontation.
Okay.
And people can be kind of like, I don't know, weird. So, and then I just have a tendency not to bring out the trigger objects because I don't want someone thinking that I'm being disrespectful or... So those kinds of things I like to do when I'm by myself.
I can understand that.
Yeah. There's a certain little cemetery here, a pioneer cemetery in a little town called Fiddletown.
Yeah.
And there's these 3 children's graves. Oh. And every time I go out there, I'll take this certain teddy bear out there. And as soon as I put that teddy bear down, and I'll put my K2 meter close by, and it's just that I think they really enjoy it, you know. And I do get a little bit of activity from that.
So you found something that does work, a trigger object that does work in that situation.
Yeah, because I have found relics from around here, like old medicine bottles, stuff like that, and so I like to take those as trigger objects. I have found old marbles. And use those as trigger objects. Because like you said, you just never know what's going to work that you're there, you know.
That's true. I've found music to be quite good. Music of the period.
Okay, so see, that's something else I've been really wanting to do. So maybe I should try that when I go to Gold Hill.
Yeah, you should. Try that. I find that's really quite good.
Okay, so when we were in Eureka, Nevada, one of the gentlemen that was there, he was doing, he does a lot of lectures at schools and stuff. He does a lot of the cemetery things, like explaining to you what the different symbols on the headstones mean.
Okay.
And anyway, so he's doing this new project, and it has to do with brothels. And like, which I never knew, there, like back in the day, there was like a brothel menu. So
really,
the menu, yes, and the menu would describe the different things that you could have done.
Wow,
very bizarre. So we were in this one location, and he said, "Hey, because there was a brothel above us at one time. And he said, hey, let's try it. Let me pull up one of the menus and let's read off the menu and see if we get any activity.
Wow.
And amazingly enough, we did.
Really?
We were all blown away. And like you said, you just never know what's going to trigger.
Wow, that's amazing, Rhonda. I can't believe that, brothel menus.
Isn't that crazy? I couldn't even remember what was on there, but the descriptions were very bizarre. Yeah, he had us laughing with all of that.
Imagine the poor soul who had to write the menu.
Exactly. Like, so was that, the madam? Did the madam do that?
I imagine she would have to, wouldn't she?
Yeah. Well, or but then I guess some of these places were also run by men, not, maybe not all women.
Sure.
So, yeah, pretty crazy.
So you've got that coming up soon.
Yes, that will be the weekend of the 27th.
Wow.
Yeah, right before Halloween.
Wow. In fact, I'll be investigating that weekend too.
Where are you going to be?
The Chocolate Factory. Which
Ooh, that sounds yummy.
Yeah, sadly there's no chocolate.
It's an empty building now?
No, it's actually a rehearsal studio for bands that go on tour. But it's a very old building, and it gets a lot of activity. But I like it because the walls are very thick, Rhonda. So, I mean, they're all soundproofed and stuff, so they're like 1.5 feet thick, the walls. So if you're getting something in that room, you know it's coming from that room. So
exactly.
That's why I like it.
That's amazing.
So do you ever just go exploring on your own, like that cemetery near you? You just take off on your own and try it?
Mm-hmm.
You enjoy that?
Yeah, I do. To me, going out and doing that is really grounding for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do that quite often. What else? Besides the cemeteries, so like this last weekend, I don't know if you saw my pictures, I went to the Hotel Leger, which is in McCollum Hill.
Wow.
And that was featured on Ghost Adventures this last, probably about a couple months ago.
Wow.
But I've never, you know how like a lot of people live in a certain area, but they never explore their backyards?
Yeah.
And I'm bad about that too. So I've lived up here for 36 years now, and I've never stepped foot in that hotel. I've known it's always existed, but I've just never gone over there. And so that's what I did last Saturday. I just got in my truck, I got my equipment, put it in the car, got in my truck, drove over there, and they were just so nice and friendly. The rooms that weren't rented, they left the doors open. And they told me I was welcome to go in there, hang out, do whatever I wanted. Yeah. And then underneath the building was the old courthouse and jail cells.
Yeah.
And they had all that open,
Wow.
So, yeah, I love doing that. Go do a few EVP sessions in between people coming in and out.
Yeah.
I got an interesting photo that I posted.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. I kind of posted it to get other people's opinions. I'm not saying it's paranormal. It was down in the jail, the tunnels where the jail cells were. And it was just really black in there. And I snapped the picture. And to me, it kind of looks like a face. I'll have to send it to you and see what you think.
Send it to me and I'll put it up on the Parasite Radio group page and they can all have a little look and see what they think.
Okay.
Because I love stuff like that.
Oh, cool. And then I did a EVP session. So I had my recorder. I was in room 10 and I had my recorder on the bed. So I wasn't even holding the recorder. And I was standing at the foot of the bed and I was on a rug because, those are old wooden floors and so they creak really bad.
Yeah.
And I know that I was not moving. I was on the carpet And if I turned, I was turning at my waist to video the room as I was talking.
Okay.
So I know I wasn't moving. And there's a lot of tapping noises throughout that little session.
Wow.
And I can share that with you too.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my Saturday, just going out and playing.
It sounds like the ideal Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, my favorite thing to do.
Well, do you know what, Rhonda? Believe it or not,
What, hun?
we have been talking for an hour.
Sweet.
And this was you that was saying what we're going to talk about for an hour. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. How are we going to fill it?
I'm nervous. I'm sweating so bad over here.
Oh, bless you.
But I've really enjoyed my time talking with you.
I'm really so glad that I eventually got you on the show.
Oh, cool. You know, this is my first show.
Really?
Yes.
Well, do you know what I think? I think you're going to have to come back and do a second one.
Oh, I would love to.
You need to come back and tell us what else you've been up to in a few weeks.
Okay.
Ago. I'm sure everyone would love to hear it. Especially
That's
since
so
you go
sweet.
exploring.
Yes.
Well, this is the thing. They love going exploring. Just
Yeah.
random exploring. It's fantastic. It's good fun. Everyone should do that.
Exactly. Because you never know what you're going to come across, like a pet cemetery.
Exactly. I'm not going to go over that. Honestly, I think that's amazing. You were literally drawn to that place. I think that's fantastic.
I do too. My sister was blown away.
Well, and before I forget and before I get into trouble with the bosses, please remember we have a competition running, everyone. So if you would like to win, it's a pagan rosary and it's actually been made by Kerry Greenaway. By her own little fair hands, she's made a pagan rosary. It's actually beautiful. If you want to win that, just go to Parasearch Radio group page, find the post, like, comment on it, and I believe it's being drawn next Monday. Yes, next Monday it should be drawn. Or the Monday after that, the 15th. So if you want to win that, enter that. So if you want to win that, Rhonda, enter it.
Cool.
You're allowed to, it's just the presenters that aren't.
Okay.
I know, shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
What else I have to tell you? Well, there's a competition. Any of the shows that you've missed, you can find on YouTube. Please remember, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Instagram, you can catch up on shows on SoundCloud, you can catch them on Podbean. We are absolutely everywhere. You have no excuses. And you have amazing shows all week. So make sure you look up, and if you go to the YouTube channel, please subscribe so that you don't miss any. That would be awesome. But Rhonda, it's been fantastic talking to you. I hope you're going to come back.
I will, honey. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for doing the show. So all that remains for us to say good night to everyone, Rhonda.
Good night, everyone. Sleep well. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, she's coming to UK. She'll see you soon. We're going to hold you to that now. Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Good night, honey.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.